guys, I'm Chill Pill and welcome back to another Black Sheep review. Y'all, for real, today's review has got me so hyped. If you couldn't tell from the awesome game face I'm rocking. I'd been wanting to play this game so bad ever since I heard about it back a few months ago and...
Reviews have gotten so much better.
Why not just give it another go like please? Doesn't review
The skits are pretty funny
Don't
though.
forget the best horror paper today.
That was odd. Anyways, Ninja Theory, the guys behind DMC Devil May Cry and Enslaved Odyssey to the West, are back at it again with their latest game, Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. In it, you play as a young Celtic warrior.
Keep going.
Stick to the review. These intros take
I
forever.
really like that
Your makeup
shirt.
is
The
stupid.
rats steal my toenails while I'm asleep.
Like I was saying, a young Celtic warrior afflicted by a severely debilitating mental disorder that must descend into the depths of hell to rescue the soul of her lost
Is it
lover.
done
I
yet?
think he's wrapping up.
Good. I'm getting bored over here.
I don't know. I thought this was a fun
I
intro.
spilled syrup, now I'm all thirsty.
Okay, I'm done. Let's just start the review. I'm done.
Fuzzy slippers are like blankets for your feet.
Before I dig into the gritty Hellblade story, I wanted to take a brief moment to touch on the unique development process this game went through. After having tried their hand with both big-name console games and little iOS titles, developer Ninja Theory wanted to try something a little more unconventional for their latest project. By limiting the dev team to a specialized few and their finances to an absolute minimum, they were able to innovate ways to achieve awesome AAA production values while still maintaining the creative freedom seen with indie games, effectively making Hellblade what they refer to as an independent AAA game, and what I refer to as a AA game, because Japan has already cornered the market on Double D games, am I right?
Yeah.
Hilarious booby jokes aside, I just thought that was a cool little behind-the-scenes tidbit about the game, but now onward to the story! In Hellblade, you play as Senua, a young Celtic warrior stricken with severe psychosis, which she calls the Darkness, that must battle the forces of Helheim and her own inner demons to rescue the soul of her lost lover, Dillion. Along her journey, our protagonist's tortured past is put together through a multitude of traumatic flashbacks and memories. I won't spoil it for ya, but I will say this girl's backstory is seriously f***ed up. Every last one of Senua's hallucinations leave the player wondering just where reality ends and delusions brought on by her darkness begin. This gorgeous woodland scenery? Probably real. These creepy eyes and the rock face? Maybe not so much. The hills have eyes indeed. I absolutely love how Ninja Theory went about telling the story. In lieu of direct character-to-character interaction, they instead had Senua's psychosis do all the talking through various voices in her head, visual hallucinations, and disturbing memories from her past. This particular style of storytelling is interesting because it allows for the player to develop a more intimate understanding of the heroine's internal struggle, which ultimately makes for more substantial character progression and intriguing narrative. Not to mention the voice acting was pretty on point too. Special props to Melina Juergens for doing the VO and mocap for Senua and really bringing the character to life. Each of the voices that accompany Senua on her journey have their own distinct personality that is fleshed out by the expert VO, making them feel as though they were actual characters in the game. Okay, yeah, I guess some voices are based on real people in Senua's life, but whatever. You know what I mean. Sometimes they'll cheer Senua on in the tough battle or mock her when she can't solve a puzzle, but mostly they're used for plot progression and putting together our heroine's tragic backstory. I will say that the incessant jabbering going on in Senua's head could get pretty annoying and make it a bit harder to concentrate at times, but that's all part of the immersion, you know? Senua don't get no break from them voices, why should you? Suck it up, buttercup! Remember the whole small team of skilled devs achieving AAA production values I mentioned earlier? This right here. This is what I was talking about. Say what you will about the rest of the game, there's one thing you gotta admit. It looks damn good. The Celtic and Nordic design influences incorporated into the picturesque landscapes make the world of Hellblade look absolutely breathtaking. With highly detailed environments to explore, professional-looking weather effects, and psychedelic lighting, seriously, it's like a rave constantly going on in Senua's head. There were times I found it hard to believe this game was designed by such a small team. I'd even go as far as to say the graphics give bigger games like The Witcher 3 and Horizon Zero Dawn a run for their money. Speaking of HCD, I was getting some strong Aloy vibes from Senua's design, probably due to the whole female native warrior thing. But since Horizon came out first this year, would that make Senua Beloy? Sorry, that was awful. But what's not awful are these awesome transitions, am I right? I love Senua's design, from her gaunt features to her battle scars and messy tribal face paint. The devs did a fantastic job utilizing mocap and CGI to make her look as realistic as possible. The only thing that bothered me was her eyes. Like, I don't know if it was an optical illusion caused by her war paint or what, but she always seemed kinda bug-eyed to me. Like they were too big for her head or something. These are the eyes of a woman that's seen some sh**. Then again, I'd probably have a similar look on my face if I had to fight these Viking demons. Adorned with the feathers, furs, and skulls of various woodland critters, these burly brawlers are the main enemies Senua fights throughout the game, and they come in 4 flavors: sword, mace, axe, and these tomahawk-chucking butt munches. Not to be outdone, the boss designs were also badass and intimidating. My personal favorite was Fenrir, but Hela, the goddess of the underworld, was pretty awesome too. In fact, you could even say,
This is hella cool.
the graphic design in Hellblade is absolutely awe-inspiring, but what's even more impressive is how they successfully implemented CGI with live action segments, which can potentially be just so bad. How smoothly everything is animated with no noticeable frame rate drops, and, with few exceptions, I rarely ran into graphical glitches or clipping. This Norse world is just so beautiful. I guess you could even call it a sight for Thor eyes. The sound design in Hellblade is hands down the coolest, most immersive aspect of the game. By utilizing a special microphone that can capture sound binaurally and some special voice recording techniques, the devs were able to replicate the voices that constantly chatter in Senua's head in a 3-dimensional space for the player to
She needs to remember the path. Everything will burn, then how
enjoy.
will she find the way back? She won't. She won't be able to tell.
I don't know if that's the right word for it, but it's really freaking awesome regardless.
The game devs recommend you play Senua's Sacrifice with headphones on so you can really experience it the way it was meant to be played. And I totally agree. Binaural audio isn't really used too much in video games, but after playing Hellblade, I kinda wish more would. You can hear someone whispering to your front left, someone laughing at you to your immediate right, and a third voice warning you of an attack coming from behind. This really was the most effective mechanic in portraying just how hellish Senua's darkness could be. So, get you a nice pair of headphones before you start up, and get ready to listen to some crazy good audio. I regret nothing.
If I were to sum up the Hellblade soundtrack in one word, it would definitely be primal. With a heavy use of intense drums, slow tension-building strings, and gruff male vocals singing in a Norse-like dialect, the music really gets you pumped to kick some Viking butt. And I can't be the only one that got a strong Skyrim vibe when I heard stuff like this in the game. While the majority of the music followed a more traditional cultural vein, some of the songs were just stranger and incorporated more modern instruments, like the sliding sound made by an electric guitar that sounded vaguely reminiscent of the Borderlands soundtrack to me. But on the whole, I felt like the music did a fantastic job fitting in and complementing the serious tone of the game, even if the singing started to sound to me like a choir of angry Swedish chefs grunting in my ears after a while. The gameplay in Hellblade is where it starts to falter, in my opinion. That's not to say it was inherently bad, it just got to be very tedious and repetitive. But then again, I don't feel like the gameplay was intended to be the main draw here. Take combat, for example. Hellblade takes a very minimalistic approach towards its fighting mechanics. Senua can light and heavy attack, kick, dodge, and block her way through a Viking brawl, and there's no heads-up display getting in your way to show you your health, stamina, what have you. So the fighting sequences look very clean and cinematic. The issue is that you fight the same type of enemies over and over, most of which are just so polite and wait their turn for their ass kicking. And once you figure out how to kill them, it becomes a repetitive dance. Sword enemies, dodge, attack, attack, attack. Mace enemies, kick shield, attack, attack, attack. Repeat ad nauseum. The only time combat becomes interesting is when you fight the Smokies. Since you can only hurt them when Senua is in her focus mode, you have to dodge attacks to build meter, you can see it on the mirror tied on her waist, and then activate her super darkness powers. But it's still attack, attack, heavy attack. It would have been nice for them to have Senua pick up a secondary weapon along the way to mix things up, or maybe a shield, or hell, use the head of Dillion as a distraction for all I care, something. If you fall in battle, or if you're as talented as I am, Senua's hand rot slowly progresses up her arm, and the game promises permadeath if it reaches her head. This mechanic is both genius and diabolical. Since the game never explicitly tells you how many deaths is too many, the player is constantly paranoid that each new death brings them closer to having their save data deleted and starting the game all over. But it just never happens. At least not that I've seen. This warning was yet another device put in to help the player empathize with Senua's own schizophrenic paranoia, that every wrong move would surely be her last. Well played, but not cool. Moving away from combat, we have the forced perspective puzzles, and believe me, there's a lot of them. In order to progress in Hellblade, you'll have to unlock doors by either killing an onslaught of enemies, or, more commonly, play I Spy with the environment. You have the now you see me, now you don't archways, the shattered pieces of reality puzzles, and the peekaboo runes, the latter of which felt like it would fit in nicely with a more f***ed up version of Sesame Street.
Why isn't this opening? What's going on?
I have to pull the door to open the door. Find the letter F.
Game?
Yeah! You need to find the letter F to open the fridge.
I don't want to play a game, I just want to drink.
Listen, lady, I have a wife and 2 socks at home who depend on me, and I swear to God, if you get in the way of me and the one job that I am qualified for, I'm going to...
Yeah! Find the letter F.
Okay, fine, I'll play your game. It's just right there.
Woohoo!
Cool, thanks. Dick.
As tiresome as they may become, these visual puzzles are actually a very creative way of displaying Senua's apophenia, which simply means to draw significance from things that have none, and becomes another crucial piece in developing the game's overall immersion. Besides the Nordic runes hidden around Helheim, the game is completely devoid of collectibles and the linear level design leaves little to explore, but considering the game's length and development process, I feel like the depth of the gameplay is perfectly acceptable. Just don't expect too much beyond stabbing some Viking demons in a scenic hallway. It kind of feels wrong to say that I had fun with a game that deals with such a heavy subject like mental illness, but what I will say is that I am genuinely glad I got to experience Senua's harrowing journey, as short as it may have been. Sitting at a little over 7 hours long, Ninja Theory did a great job delivering such a powerful narrative in less than half the time of your average AAA game, but on the flip side, it also felt like it had less than half the content. Finding all the Nordic runes in one go is actually fairly simple to do, and nets you the secret true ending, which means there's not really anything that'll make you want to come back to Helheim once you've accomplished this. And I'm still kicking myself for the few stupid runes that I missed. Just let me go back and find them, game, come on! But you know what? Even with the lack of post-game content or replayability, Hellblade's phenomenal game design and meticulous attention to detail have made it one of my most memorable indie game experiences to date. I mean, heck, they even incorporated the advice from a professor of neuroscience and psychosis and a panel of people afflicted with similar disorders into the design of Senua's own darkness. You really gotta respect the devs' devotion to make their game feel as realistic as possible. Hellblade is awe-inspiring, and every gamer owes it to themselves to experience this game at least once. Ninja Theory, thanks a dillion for the great times in Helheim. I guess I could Senua thank you card, but this was easier.
Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is one of the most engrossing games I've played all year. Kudos to the Team Ninja devs for successfully bridging the gap between AAA game design and indie game development with this project. Even though I found the combat and puzzles to be a bit overbearing at times, the superb visuals, story, and sound design more than made up for these shortcomings. You'd have to be insane to skip playing this one. That's why I give Hellblade a rating of Remarkable. So, until next time, I'm Chillpill reminding you, if you ever find yourself experiencing any sort of mental issues, please don't just keep quiet. There are those who disregard these medical problems as fake or attention-seeking behavior, and as a result, many may be afraid to openly discuss any issues they're experiencing. The only way to break down these social stigma is to talk about it and get help if needed. Know that you're never alone, and keep that chin up. See ya!
Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Vidya for all our latest updates. Question for you guys. Since discussing mental disorders can be very touchy for a lot of people, do you think Ninja Theory did a good job with the subject matter? Did you find it eye-opening or just distasteful? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you next time.